We live in a world where everyone likes to party. Everywhere you turn, you see events taking place dedicated solely to getting on your level. None of those match the level of America's biggest party season, Mardi Gras. 177 years ago, New Orleans changed forever. The signing of the Mardi Gras Act reshaped the entire landscape of the Crescent City. When Katrina hit New Orleans and I moved to Houston for 3 years, the two biggest questions that I received was, do you know Lil Wayne, and what's Mardi Gras really like? Back then I couldn't really answer because I was only in the 7th grade. My biggest concern at the time was marching during the parade season with my trumpet in hand with my middle school band. Now that I'm older and able to grasp the concept of Mardi Gras, it's only right that I revisit that question. In this video, the goal is for you to leave with a full 360 view of what Mardi Gras is and how the tradition made its way all the way down to New Orleans. What is Mardi Gras? Mardi Gras is a French term based on a religious event that translates into Fat Tuesday. Catholicism is the home of Mardi Gras, and the holiday is a very important part of the Lent season. Fat Tuesday falls on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, which is the first day of fasting leading up to Easter 46 days later. There are some researchers that believe that Mardi Gras dates back to the Roman holiday Saturnalia, but this isn't a historical fact. Mardi Gras is often viewed as a way to let yourself go before the fasting begins. Traditionally, people would eat fatty foods leading up to Lent, hence the term Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras has since evolved into a worldwide celebration. The two biggest hosts of these celebrations are in New Orleans and in Rio de Janeiro for the Rio Carnival. During these festivals, hundreds of thousands of people travel to one location to party until they can't no more. Getty photographer Mario Tama, a New Orleans native, discovered a lot of parallels between the South American nation and New Orleans.
Now there's this big debate that goes on every year between Mobile natives and New Orleans natives about who started Mardi Gras. Now to clear this up, and I'm going to go into detail in another video, on March 2nd, 1699, French-Canadian explorer Jean-Baptiste Bienville arrived at a plot of ground 60 miles directly south of New Orleans and named it Pointe du Mardi Gras. Now they named it Pointe du Mardi Gras because they landed there on Mardi Gras Day. So when Bienville established the Fort Louis de la Louisiane, which is now Mobile, in 1702, they celebrated the first official Mardi Gras in 1703 out there.
Although Mardi Gras is still held in Mobile, New Orleans takes the crown for the biggest celebration in the world. Since Mardi Gras is a religious holiday and linked to the moon cycles, the date changes every year. Mardi Gras for 2020 will be on the 25th of February. The season for Mardi Gras is 2 weeks leading up to Fat Tuesday. These 2 weeks are filled with parades that feature larger-than-life floats, masked gift givers, and a lot of music. The biggest parades are held on Mardi Gras Day. The Monday before Mardi Gras, known as Lundi Gras, is also a pretty big day during the season. This year, there will be over 80 parades scheduled in New Orleans alone. For tourists, I'd say 5 days before Tuesday should be your targeted arrival date. This gives you enough time to enjoy the city and take in the energy of the parades. Although the parades are the main attraction, there are a lot of things that you can do while in New Orleans for Mardi Gras. One of the biggest things that come to mind is Mardi Gras World, the place where most of the floats are constructed and stored. Mardi Gras floats can cost up to $50,000 to create per float. The only downside to visiting Mardi Gras World during the season is that many of the floats will be on the streets and not in the warehouse. Other aspects of Mardi Gras include king cakes, Mardi Gras balls, Mardi Gras Indians, the flambeau, and social and pleasure clubs. Before I dig a little deeper into the Mardi Gras traditions, I want to ask, what's your favorite thing about Mardi Gras? The average American may assume that Mardi Gras is all about parties, but it gets much deeper than that. You may have heard the term crew once or twice. The Mardi Gras crews are a very important aspect of the carnival season. A crew is a social organization that puts on a parade or a ball for the carnival season. The term is best known for its association with Mardi Gras celebrations in New Orleans. Each crew has a king and a queen that works hard during the year for the big ball. The identities of the king and queen are closely guarded secrets until the night of the ball. Most of the balls are formal and private. The invitations used to be die-cut and printed in Paris, France. Super crews like Endymion and Orpheus are known for having extravagant balls held in the highest profile locations in New Orleans. My personal favorite part of the Mardi Gras season are the Indians.
Every St. Joseph night. I'm the one they talk about. I'm the one they only talk about. I'm the flag boy. Look at that. I talk my shit every year.
Larry Banner, past president of the NOLA Mardi Gras Indian Council, said, "Mardi Gras Indians are secretive because only certain people participated in masking. The Mardi Gras Indians are made up of African Americans who were left out of the mainstream Mardi Gras traditions due to racism and slavery. We had to find our own way to celebrate Mardi Gras in our neighborhoods."
The culture of masking Indian is at least about 300 years old. So we pretty much hold it in the city. And it's a lot of stories that's been told about the masking culture or the Mardi Gras Indians, as they labeled us, because we couldn't come out, we couldn't wear our traditional clothing, indigenous clothing. So that was the only time you could actually be who you were. It was, I think one of the governors of Louisiana passed a law that black folks couldn't wear feathers, or they couldn't look Indian. Yeah, so that's one of the days, that and St. Joseph night, that we were allowed to put on these, we call them suits, or you can call it regalia, cultural clothing.
Traditionally, the crews modeled their structure from Greek and Roman themes. The names usually mirrored those of mythological heroes and gods. The structure of the crews copied royal hierarchy. Black people were kept out of these traditions for more reasons than one. This led to the development of our own traditions. The Mardi Gras Indians named themselves after the Native Americans. The purpose of this was to pay respect to the tribes who helped slaves escape captivity. It was often local Indians who accepted slaves into the society when they made a break for freedom. They had never forgotten the support.
In an interview with Chief Bald Eagle Roderick, he explained how many black Americans were native to this land prior to the Africans being brought over.
I don't know what you call it. You're taking on like another persona, but it's an indigenous culture. And this masking culture is all throughout the Caribbean and in some parts of Africa. So we've been in America before the slave trade, so we've always been here. So some of the people that they call in African Americans pretty much may not have anything to do with Africa.
The tribes spent all year making their extravagant suits by hand that consist of bright feathers, beads, and embroidery. There are strong Native American influences on black people, especially in New Orleans.
Another big part of New Orleans, especially during the Mardi Gras season, are the social aid and pleasure clubs. The social aid and pleasure clubs are basically the originators, the organizers, and the sponsors of the second line parades, for which the city is made famous for. See, in Satchmo's autobiography, My Life in New Orleans, he wrote that when he was a child, he used to watch those clubs parade, and it was an irresistible and absolutely unique experience. Every time one of those clubs paraded, I could second line with them all day long. The social ed and pleasure clubs were basically created from organizations called the benevolent societies, and which were basically groups that performed charitable works in the communities and provided social aid to disenfranchised communities. So knowing the history about the social aid and pleasure clubs is really important in New Orleans, and in total there are about 70 social aid and pleasure clubs in New Orleans alone.
The king cake tradition is the key to an authentic Mardi Gras experience. According to the Christian faith, Christ first showed himself to the 3 wise men on the 12th night, aka the Epiphany. This is the day that Mardi Gras season starts. This is why a small porcelain or plastic baby is put inside of the cakes. If you find one, you will be responsible for bringing the next king cake to the party. Researchers believe that king cakes were brought over from France in the late 1800s. They were a ring of dough baked and topped with sugar. Braiding and baking the dough gives it the traditional king cake look. Did you know that float riders are required to wear masks by law? This comes from the idea that everyone should be treated fairly during the season. The mask tradition came from different societies around the world who would wear them during rituals and celebrations. The mask allowed people to escape the reality of social class and constraints. This is a time of the year that no one forgets, especially if you live in New Orleans. For natives of New Orleans, Mardi Gras is that one time of the year where you see everyone. It's a time for reconnecting with childhood friends and family members that you haven't seen in a long time. New Orleans natives are resilient. We have suffered a lot in this lifetime. From Katrina to the housing development crisis of the 90s, We've been through a lot. This is why we celebrate. This is why we go so hard during the carnival season. Mardi Gras serves as a reminder that we're still here.